Welcome to Motivation Fridays. This is my second episode. Last Friday I did a episode. Today I want to talk about two concepts. I want to talk about the concept of team as well as a African proverb, which is he who wears his dirt the best is the cleanest. So stay tuned. Like I stated before, I want to open up to you guys. I want to share stuff that has transpired and happened for me from the time I was a kid to the time that I graduated. And I want to inspire you guys because I want you to understand that if I can come from where I came from to be where I'm at today, anybody, I don't care who you are, anybody can do that. So let's start with elementary school for me. So elementary school for me was one of the funnest times. I can remember every single teacher I had from first grade to fifth grade. And it was a struggling time for myself as well. And we'll start here with the African proverb that I had stated before. He who wears his dirt the best is the cleanest. What that means to me is basically revealing who you are. Today's day and social media, let's be honest, it has its pros and it has its cons, right? One of the pro things is if you want to be motivated or you want to see what quote unquote success looks like, a lot of times you can go on social media and you can see these extravagant lives and you can see the stuff that you can aspire to. Unfortunately, a lot of times with a lot of people on social media, a lot of the stuff is false. It's not true. Nevertheless, I want to wear my dirt. I want to give you my story because I believe and my hope is that it'll help inspire someone. But as a little kid, I went to a school called Valencia Park Elementary School. It's about maybe a 5-minute walk from where I grew up. At that school as a kid, I was sort of kind of, for lack of better words, a bummy kid. My hygiene was really bad. My hygiene was so bad. I'm gonna tell you guys a story. I remember in like the second grade being in the library. We were, the reading rainbow. We would go into the library. I just remember that with the black guy. I don't know if you guys remember. I'm an 80s kid, but nevertheless, the reading rainbow, you go, the reading rainbow, that song or whatnot. But nevertheless, that day, I think, is when I don't know if I want to say I started maturing, but my arms, I started getting very sweaty and having a very bad odor. And as a kid, nothing to my grandmother, raising 7 kids, there was no male figure in the home. So, and it was no one's, I don't know. I don't want to put blame on anyone or anything along those lines because I know I'll have family that'll see this. But nevertheless, I was just really musty. I stunk really bad. And I remember the teacher, asking me to come here, took me to the back of the class. And while I was in the back of the class, back in these days, for those of you who don't know, the soap dispensaries at the school that I went to and the schools that I remember when I was very young, when you would get the soap, it wasn't liquid. It was like a powder, a white powder. And, it's sort of kind of gritty. You rub your hands on there. It sort of kind of hurts or whatever the circumstance is, but it makes a soap form. And I remember she just took me to the back, this lady, and she got some of the soap, gave me some the paper towels, the brown paper towels that we had. She said to wash under my armpits. I washed under my armpits. And then she just basically, said, put the paper towels underneath your armpits so you don't have the odor. It'll get rid of the odor and you won't be funky. And so I remember, for a while I would do that. I never asked my grandmother. I never said anything to anyone at home with regards to it. But I remember every time I would get to school, because I started becoming musty at that time span, I would just go right in the bathroom, make sure nobody else was in the bathroom, and wash under my armpits so that I didn't smell. Another thing that happened to me was, as a kid, I'm pretty sure parents, you guys have kids, if you allow your kids to wear your shoes without socks and your feet get sweaty, I was so active, always running and doing all types of stuff. That's another thing. I have a bad odor. And I remember sitting in the library again and everyone was talking about someone's feet stink. And I went to a predominantly black school. So with that being said, a lot of kids would, base and clown or whatever the circumstance is. But that was another issue that I had. And this was me as a kid. There were times between my first and fifth grade year, envying so many kids. You know, there were the kids, how you can tell within black communities how a kid had something is by his sneakers and his outfits. If he had Nikes on, he had nice outfits, and you knew he probably came from money. But nevertheless, I would envy other kids, their shoes and so forth. There were times I even wanted my life to just be over. I just felt like, you know, it just wasn't fair that I was in the circumstance that I was in. And these people appeared, friends and so forth, appeared to look a certain way. And yet, you know, I just wanted that, and why I didn't get that. And I say that to say that it's not necessarily where you start, but it's where you finish. So I know some of you guys are going through some stuff. You have some things going or whatever's happening. But understand, not where you start is where you finish and where you end up, right? Number 2 is the team, right? The acronym for team is together, everyone achieves more. And that is so true. Now, I'm not saying you have to have a huge team. There are people with small teams that are able to, you know, get a lot accomplished. But biblically, and I'm not really a religious person, but I grew up in the church, and there are a lot of great quotes and so forth in the Bible, in my opinion. But biblically, it always says where 2 or more are gathered, there is power, right? And that's so true. And that represents a team, 2 or more people. A lot of times we try to go through life doing things on our own. It does not work, but within team. And so with this whole concept, when I was in elementary school, in the 5th grade, I had a teacher named Mr. Stewart. I have no idea what happened to him, but he had such a large impact on my life because he just sort of kind of brought me in. He basically, you know, told me that I was smart, told me that, you know, everything could happen. I mean, when I was in 3rd or 4th grade, I couldn't read. You know, I could tell a story with regards to that. But him teaming up with me and just encouraging me is what helped push me to the next level, right? So within team, I think of a concept, I think of something like, for instance, for those of you who have Apple Watches, a lot of times me, my wife, her brother, his girlfriend, we all have these watches, right? And I know that, you know, I'm trying to work out, I'm trying to lose weight. I was like 238 pounds, trying to lose weight. And having this, you know, you can team up with people and you can see everyone else's calories that they burnt through the day and the exercises that they've done. Having a team structure helped push me more than if I was on my own. Same thing with walking with my wife, right? Yesterday we were walking. We were carrying weights, 10-pound weights. And because I was with her, I pushed myself harder, and I'm pretty sure she pushed herself harder than you would have on your own. As far as the concept goes when it comes to team, I want you to look at, and it's so true, look at your closest friends that you have. If you look at your friends, you can basically tell your future. Me and my wife's gone back and forth with regards to who we're hanging out with and what's going on. The reality is, if you're with friends that aren't pushing you and you're not pushing them, then you're gonna have to let them go. Now, I'm not saying don't communicate with them anymore or anything along those lines, but you got to get around people who are doing what you want to do and that are going to help push you to where you need to be. So those are the 2 concepts that I wanted to talk to you about today. The African proverb, which is, he who wears his dirt the best is the cleanest. In today's society, we only want to show what's great. We never want to talk about the bad stuff. But I am going to bare my soul to you guys on these Fridays, explaining to you who I was up to who I've become, right? And I'm still a work in progress, and I'm working on that. And second thing is your team. Together, everyone achieves more. So true. Find yourself, surround yourself around people who are doing what you want to do. And the reality is, life will get better for you. Now, if you have any questions or comments in general about debt or credit, put them down in the comments section. Like I always promise, I'll answer those questions for you. Be sure to like and subscribe, and you be great.